Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. Today, we're going to break down something absolutely crucial, the fundamental networks that basically run our world and our businesses. We interact with these systems every single day, often without even realizing it. But today, we're going to decode exactly how information flows, who actually gets access to it, and how big organizations keep their most valuable data locked down tight. So think about your own digital routine for just a second. Have you ever actually wondered what separates the wild, totally open World Wide Web from that highly structured private company portal you log into for work? Like, how does a global system balance massive open connectivity with the need for serious private security? Well, that's exactly the core challenge we're unraveling today. Okay, here's a quick look at our roadmap. We'll start with an intro to networks, then look at the internet, followed by the intranet, then the extranet, and finally, we'll compare all three nets side by side.
All right, let's jump into section 1, Intro to Networks, the absolute foundation of information sharing.
At its most basic level, a network is really just a system that facilitates the sharing, transmission, and management of information. That's the whole shebang. Now, while there are a bunch of different setups out there, today we're focusing on the three primary architectures that dictate how our data flows, ranging all the way from limitless global connectivity down to highly restricted internal organizational exchange. Moving right along to section 2, the Internet. This is our public network, the hub of global connectivity. So the Internet. It is literally the world's largest public network. We're talking about connecting millions, actually, scratch that, billions of computers, devices, and servers across the entire globe. And what's absolutely fascinating about the internet is that it has no single owner. There's no one sitting in a giant central control room running the whole thing. Instead, it functions through this massive ongoing cooperation between internet service providers, or ISPs, and various shared infrastructures. It is the ultimate cooperative global network. Because the internet is open to absolutely everyone, giving it a reach of billions of users, its purpose is incredibly vast. I mean, it spans everything from basic daily communication and e-commerce to deep, complex research. But this massive scale creates a catch, right? Security. In a completely public environment like this, the burden of security falls almost entirely on user-side protections. That means the responsibility is heavily on you, the individual, to have your own personal firewalls, your own antivirus software, and encryption protocols set up. We all experience this every single day. Think about browsing public websites like Google, scrolling through Facebook, or falling down a rabbit hole on Wikipedia. It's this massive public square where information is just freely accessible. But as we just talked about, navigating it safely requires some individual vigilance on your part. Now, let's pivot to section 3, Intranet. This is the private network, what we like to call the walled garden. Okay, imagine taking the exact same web technologies we use every day on the public web, TCP/IP, standard browsers, HTTP, but building a tall, impenetrable wall right around them. That's an intranet. It feels exactly like surfing the normal web, but it restricts access exclusively to authorized employees, operating entirely within the boundaries of a single organization. Because this environment is completely inward-facing, its availability is limited solely to company staff. This is huge because it allows organizations to safely host and manage things like internal news portals, critical project management software, and really sensitive HR systems. And it completely flips the security dynamic. Instead of relying on individual users like we saw on the public web, the organization manages safety from the top down. They use robust organizational firewalls and strict access policies to keep everything perfectly protected. To put this into a real-world perspective, let's look at a massive global company like Wipro. They use an internal network, an intranet, for managing their incredibly complex internal projects, hosting their secure HR databases, and running their employee portals. It's a vast digital workspace, for sure, but one that is completely invisible to the outside world. When we contrast the two directly, the purpose becomes super clear. The internet is basically a bustling public street with chaotic user-dependent security. The intranet, on the other hand, is like the quiet, highly secure hallway of a private corporate headquarters. It's accessible only to staff and heavily protected by centralized organizational firewalls. Which brings us to section 4, Extranet, the controlled extension, or as I like to think of it, opening the door just a crack. Now, an extranet is a brilliantly practical solution for modern business. Basically, it's a controlled extension of an organization's intranet. It deliberately allows specific, authorized external stakeholders, we're talking suppliers, clients, or vital business partners, to access certain internal resources. It's this perfect hybrid. It combines the tight security of an intranet with the broad, collaborative connectivity of the internet.
To make this kind of collaboration actually work, accessibility is expanded just a bit to include employees, plus explicitly authorized external members, like trusted vendors. The entire purpose here is to enhance collaboration with those external entities without compromising the safety of the main internal network. But because outsiders are officially crossing the threshold, security has to be incredibly rigid. It requires intensive layers of firewalls, super strong data encryption, and mandatory login authentication. It's like you're invited inside the building, but you only have the key to one very specific room. A perfect real-world example of an extranet in action is the secure partnership between tech giants Dell and Intel. They collaborate through a secure extranet to flawlessly manage their complex supply chain operations. Think about it. Intel needs to know exactly what Dell is manufacturing, and Dell needs to know what chips Intel has ready to supply. The extranet allows these two massive, totally separate companies to securely share vital internal data in real time, driving efficiency for both of them. All right, let's wrap this up with Section 5, comparing the three nets. This is our grand comparison. When we look at this entire mental model, notice how the coverage systematically shrinks. We go from the totally worldwide internet all the way down to a single organization's intranet, and then we expand just slightly for partners via the extranet. Conversely, look at how the security scales up. It goes from being entirely user-dependent and loose on the public web to being protected by deep organizational firewalls internally, and finally requiring firewalls, heavy encryption, and tightly controlled logins when we start involving external partners. It's this incredible, perfect balancing act between who actually needs the information and how closely that information needs to be guarded. To officially wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a thought regarding how these distinct boundaries are shifting today. I mean, with the massive, unprecedented growth of remote work, cloud computing, and people just working from coffee shops on public Wi-Fi, the hard physical borders of these networks are dissolving. So ask yourself, in today's wild digital landscape, where does your company's intranet truly end, and where does the public internet begin? Understanding these three networks is absolutely the key to navigating that very question. Thank you so much for learning with me today, and keep exploring.